knowledge based. It's heart based. It's physically based. It just is. You can't argue with what is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's okay,
See,
right?
they should just know that I'm right.
Well, there you go. Yes, they should. None of mine ever buys that when I tell them that.
Yeah, mine either.
But
It's right up there with it. It wasn't me. They
oh
never buy that
gosh.
one either.
Uh, but just as an interjection, I had never heard that song by Shaggy before, and he came and played at a venue I was working at, and that is a naughty but hilarious song. I'm just gonna say, but
And see, I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't know who Shaggy is. I don't know
I
what
didn't
song that
either.
would be.
I didn't either. I'll send it to you. But
Okay.
it wasn't me. It's just a great universal mindset, apparently. So,
Oh, see, I didn't even know that that came from a song.
well, I think the song came from that.
Okay.
But I wanted to touch base on something else before we move on with the other stuff. But this is kind of like kicking back to what we were talking about, the vampiric activity. You know, some of the effects that affect the host or that are seen in the host you listed are, fragile auric fields and just feeling overwhelmed and weak and tired and bored. Nothing's holding their interest. You know, their boundaries have been crossed and they don't even know that they didn't have them. So, how can they recover from that?
I mean, there are a lot of techniques that people can use. There are ones that are suggested all the time, go take a walk in nature, get into a room by yourself. We were talking earlier before about the Epsom salt bath, which I
Right?
think, light some candles and just have it be you time, so that you can re-find yourself. Because when we get violated that way, it's like we kind of lose a little piece of ourselves. Not that it's gone, but it's almost like we're knocked to the side and we have to recenter inside of ourselves. I mean, for me personally, I have found, and I've come to this conclusion, and this was today's conclusion, so this is how fresh this is, that for me, one of the things that helps me the most is doing something physical. So whether I put some music on and I dance, I have been infamously known to really clean things. Oh, I think I'm going to go scrub that bathtub, and I'll tell you what, when I'm in that mood, it is going to be the cleanest freaking bathtub on the planet. Going out, I mean, because I used to just say, it's that making the connections, when I would get upset and it would be going on in my mind, and it's kind of like, oh, you just kind of got like, I don't know if it was a psychic attack or a vampire thing or whatever, but like my brain's going, and having those little
Yes.
mental arguments with the other person, I would just say, I need to go burn it off, so clean the bathtub. Raking leaves, that's a big favorite one of mine when it's like not too cold or not too hot.
Exactly. Just
Um,
right.
but doing things where I have to exert physical energy, for me, burns it off, and kind of moves it out with a little bit of combustion. And my house is always in a better place after. So
That's
there's like a
logical.
dual benefit. Um, but I used to work at a concert place because they paid me money to listen to bands like the Eagles and
Exactly.
and take tickets. It's like I can take tickets to go see the Eagles for free. Oh, not even for free. You're going to pay me to go
Right?
see the Eagles. And then I would have my little spot that I had to like guard and take tickets and stuff. And I would just dance all night. And there were days that I would go in there like in the worst mood, worst mood. And by the time I left, I was high and energized with a big smile on my face and I mean, I could tell I was glowing, and so those kind of things for me tend to work the best. The sitting and meditating, that doesn't work for me.
I don't do that well.
I mean,
Not
every
when I
so
need
often it's
to.
cool, but
Yeah.
yeah. But when it's that deep-seated stuff, it's really for me. I'm gonna go scrub something.
Well, because you're scrubbing it out of you too. It's a
Ooh, I like that. And you're right.
yeah. You're cleaning a lot more than the tub. And that being said, I can't believe we're already up on our break. But this is 3 minutes. We'll be right back. And we'll be right back with Dr. Rita Louise. So hang with us.
Son of a...
Hey, son.
Mother...
Son? What are you doing?
Hey, Mom. I'm getting ready to listen to Periscope Uncensored.
By expanding your vocabulary.
Well, it is uncensored.
Son, the uncensored part of Periscope Uncensored is Jax and I getting down to brass tacks with all aspects of the paranormal. There's no fluff on our show.
So, no off-color commentary?
I didn't say that.
Awesome!
Son?
I just hit my head.
Oh boy, I'll go get you an ice pack. Catch Periscope Uncensored Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, only on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. The best in paranormal talk radio.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
And just like that, we are back, and I am just having a fantastic time with Rita. Dr. Rita Louise is the guest here. So, we were talking during the break, and I have been having a lot of people reach out to me, and I haven't really been doing investigations or cleansings or anything, but while I've been going through this, but there are a lot of people feeling like they are coping with attachments, with attached entities. And I know that you're familiar with that. You've written about it. And, here we are again with boundary issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how would an entity actually really get focused on someone and decide that that's who they want to attach to?
Well, and I think I need to start with some prerequisite, I'll say vocabulary.
Okay.
Because when I use the concept attached entity, we're talking about a very specific energetic dynamic between a spirit and a human. Okay, a very specific relationship. So if you have a ghost in your house, that's just hanging out. Like I live in an old house and I have two ghosts that live in the house. So I don't have an entity attachment. I have two ghosts that live in my house.
Right, that's a separate thing.
That's a separate thing. An entity attachment is a spirit that is impacting you energetically, I'll say potentially physically, but mentally, and with the goal of controlling and manipulating you. So if you have a ghost in your house, that does not mean you have an attached entity. If you're having bad luck, it doesn't mean you have an attached entity. You know, I mean, because I get, I lost my job and this and this and this. I must have an attached entity. It's like, no, you're just going through a bad period.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't say that that's the case for everybody, but I'm going to kind of go out on a limb and say that's probably the case for a lot of people, because attached entities don't just decide, oh, I'm going to attach to this person. There is some criteria that needs to happen. So the most common place that entities attach is in childhood. And these are children that come from addictive or abusive homes. There's physical abuse, sexual abuse, et cetera, where, and the child, okay, so when there's an entity attached, there is always an agreement between, kind of like we were talking about the energy vampire, there is a certain level of agreement of the empath to allow them in. Because
Really?
if the empath didn't allow that, it's the boundary thing. With no boundaries, you are allowing them in.
Gotcha.
See what I'm saying?
Hadn't thought of it that way.
Right. So with an attached entity, especially in young children, they are looking for someone to help them. They are looking for someone to save them from the abusive situation. Many times children during that period will disassociate,
Yes.
and just kind of get numb to the situation. So it is the child becomes a prime target. They're out of their body. It allows the entity to come in and on some levels take control of what's going on. It doesn't live in the body all the time, because when the situation normalizes and the child feels safe again, the child can re-enter the body and it pushes the entity back out, or the auric field, they can retake over their auric field. And so that is the most common. Usually there is some energy or some vibration, emotional vibration, that if triggered, that is going to call the entity in, like, nobody loves me, or nobody cares, or I'm not worth it, or whatever that internal dialogue, emotional flag is. That's kind of like the bat phone. There's only one button, and that one button says, nobody loves me. And it calls the entity, because now the child's been triggered. They're out of their body. Entity can come in and
Question.
save the day.
I have a question.
Okay.
Can that behavior and that trigger continue into adulthood?
Like I said, that's where the attachment starts. Yes.
So, but that can stay
Yes.
an interactive situation.
I had an entity attachment, and I probably got rid of mine about 10 years ago.
Okay.
So, yeah. I mean, this is why I know so much about it, because I am one. No, I had one.
Big difference there.
And, yeah. And so that's the most common, but it's also the most challenging to get rid of, because if you're 3 years old or 5 years old or 8 years old, when this entity comes in, you think that your emotional reaction to a situation, which is AKA the entity running in your body and controlling your emotional space, is your emotional reaction.
Right.
Because that's all you've had your whole life. Okay, fast forward. So the other common place that an entity can become attached is with people with addiction issues. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, gambling, computer, they can get an entity attachment. You take away the addictive thing, and the entity doesn't have that safe space to come through anymore. I have worked with people, it's interesting with all the bad rap that Ouija boards get, I've never had anybody come to me that has had an entity attachment because of a Ouija board, but I think mostly because people don't really